Hi guys, thank you for joining us today. Today the topic is going to be open banking, and our session will be conducted by Samar Marasinghe. So we will be actually recording the session. So if you want to have another look at it again, you can do that through Experience. You can use that platform to view it again. And if you have any questions along the way, you can always ask him. And if you're not comfortable, ask in this forum, or if you're not comfortable asking in front of everyone, you can just ask him later on. All right. Okay, I think we can start now. Sahan, over to you to move on with the session.
Thank you, Chamoli. So, good afternoon. So, in today's session, I'm going to discuss about the open banking. So, we move up with the agenda. So, I'm going to discuss with you about the key areas, the typical banking that you know, how we move to the open banking, and the key concepts of the open banking, and the open banking as a global phenomenon. And there are regulations for the open banking, and there are technologies that power the open banking. And finally, I'm going to discuss with you the Mitra recently got the open banking, WSO Open Banking Solution Partnership, and I'm going to discuss with you about that as well, the journey too. So here you can see in the right hand side the typical bank that we know, the bank that we the general bank that we go to bank, and the actions we take, maybe we go to open our account, and we deposit cash, and we may get certain credit cards, debit card, maybe open the FD, get loans, those everything we go to the bank really. So here the activities that we are doing generally are mentioned here. So we take that card and get the cash withdraw from the ATM, maybe use the merchant, and maybe the bank would have provided their websites and portals for login and get the account information, maybe for online payments. So that's the general bank that we know. But with the improvement of the technology, the customer expectations has increased really. So what is that? So here the customers are no more willing to reach the bank. So they expected to open their account, not reaching the bank. So if they have realized maybe a check, they won't need to further visit to bank or any ATM. So they expected the better customer experience as well. So even there may be the customer payment, merchant payment that they would do in their existing banking portal. That sometimes they don't know having that specific merchant really. So they may need to view an aggregated view of their accounts. So sometimes they may need to view certain account budget allocations that they have put there. So there are certain specific features that they are expecting, the improved features. So the typical bank won't be able to provide those features without the improvement. So they would have the legacy systems in their backend. So they have improved their existing financial services to come up to provide these services. So they would have the operational inefficiency as well. If you think about check realization, it may take some time, and even maybe the remittances maybe take certain time, and so that kind of thing. So further, there are cybersecurity risks as well that the bank had to cater to. Further, there are regulators come up with the new technological innovative technologies the regulators also come with maybe the central banks that come and put the regulations on top of the existing banks. So if they are opening their banking features furthermore and give the better customer experience, they have to consider a lot of factors, a lot of areas. So if they are unable to do that, they will be in a reputation risk as well. So moving to the next. So if a bank need to overcome these challenges, what they have to do is that they have come up with a transformation. Which kind of a transformation they need? So we have seen that the software has become the differentiator here. So customer interface with the bank via different softwares. That means the smartphones, websites, and smart devices that would have their different applications. So the improvement of the technology has changed customer needs. So bank also has to come up with the transformation. That transformation should be a digital transformation. So with that, they have to come up with ensure the customer needs, the convenience they expect, maybe the personalization, security, and innovative things. So if you consider digital transformation for a bank, so what is the digital transformation exactly they have provided? So here, left side, you can see the expect areas that they can focus on. The omnichannel solution. What's the omnichannel solution? You may have experience when you're visiting the YouTube that you may post a video in your mobile phone. When you access the website, you can visit that from there. Same as customer want to, maybe they are in certain inputs that we fill in certain forms to open the accounts. They may not have the information in their hands yet. So they have to receive that later. Otherwise, they would like to do it from the start, from the beginning, really. So for the portals, the portals that they are exposed, that those portals are need to be further enhanced, really. So the better to provide the better experience for the customers. So they have integrated with more merchants maybe and different payment methods and everything. So same time, if they want to provide that features, their legacy information system, their legacy systems has to be transformed. Maybe they would have their different proprietary protocols in that has to be transformed. So in that case, bank has to do a certain kind of a digital transformation. Further, they need the kind of digital marketing and their business analytics are also very important here. So to come up with transformation, bank has this challenge. That is that they don't have the experience on that. And other thing is that they need to focus on their own banking business. So what is the solution for that? Solution is that they have to take the support from the third party. What's that? The technological companies, the technology providers of fintechs. So here I have shown if a bank, in the center you can see the bank data, that is the bank, where bank exposed their apps. The right hand side you can see the banking apps, the typical existing banking apps the customer consume. In the left hand side will be the transform APIs, the banking functions they exposed as APIs. APIs in the application program interface. So with those APIs, the third parties will come and develop the innovative applications. So the customers can access those applications. So this kind of approach that they can take in their transformation. So this third parties has the access for the innovation. They can they have the speed and agility. They can easily get the customer requirements and come up with innovative solutions, and they will be cost effective. So because of these things, if the bank get the support from this third party technological providers, they can accelerate their transformation and even can address to this rapidly changing environment. So moving to the next. So here I have drawn this picture on the open banking. So we'll discuss. So as we concern in the top, there's a bank with a bank data. The bank has the customer, bank customers data are inside in the bank. So the customer want to access the bank, but through the third-party provider applications. The bank has the right corner. You can see the bank. They have used they have get the support of a technology provider. The technology provider is the one who consumes the banking function. It is that expose them as the APIs to the outside. So these become the open APIs, and with the specific regulation cover, maybe specifications covering, that become the open banking APIs. So the third-party providers are the parties who consume these APIs and come up with innovative solutions. Maybe the online payment channels, maybe account aggregation services, different payment services they can come up with. So bank customer will consume this application. We'll discuss on a certain example. So if you consider that mean customer need to do his water bill payment. So for that he doesn't need to always monthly come and do the payment, but he need to let the bank do the payment on behalf of him. That is kind of a direct debit from the bank account. So in that state, the customer will consume this application. The third party will consume the bank's APIs and develop this application. So in here, the customer will give the consent to this third party application to debit his account on behalf of him. That is what is shown in the customer consent, the top arrow. That's most the technology provider. So here, technology provider will get record his consent. What the consent mean? He mentioned he gives his consent maybe for the entire year. 12 times you can deduct from my account. That can be the limit of 10,000. So for month, that's one time. That kind of a consent that he can give. So that consent, and you have deduct from my saving account only. So that kind of consent is given to be safe. So when these banks APIs are exposed and come up with this kind of a third-party providers with innovative solutions, we can see if a different bank have exposed their APIs, the APIs will have different specifications. So to reduce that, to have general specification and to maintain security, the regulators come into picture. That may be central bank. So entire this picture describe the open banking where the bank customer gives his consent to a third-party provider to debit his account and do a payment to a transfer, or maybe get his banking data on behalf of him. So that is the entire picture on open banking, and the regulator comes into picture as well. Go to the next. So same thing I'm going to further explain. Left side is the partner API. So partner APIs are the APIs that bank has, maybe their credit card provider, maybe they would have provide their APIs. So other than maybe their remittance companies would have provided their APIs. So those APIs they could expose to outside, maybe to their corporate customers. So that is the partner APIs only. Okay, they can use that. If they open that API to the external, maybe their corporate segment or non-partners under maybe certain agreements, that also becomes open API only. That doesn't become the open banking. To become the open banking, that should come under certain standards and the security guidelines they have to follow. So this is for you to understand exactly what is the open banking, the differentiation of the open APIs. Over to the next. So as you discussed earlier, now you're clear about the entire what is open banking. So there was a set of open banking stakeholders you have seen. The first is the financial institute, that is the bank, and the technology provider is the one who provide the technology for the bank to expose their APIs. So regulators are and industry associations are the one who come up with these regulations to expose these APIs, maybe standardizations. And third-party providers are the one who consume those APIs, as you have seen in the slide. So they consume APIs and provide innovative solutions. And customers are the banking customers, and merchants are the one who get the payments while all the transactions going on. So entire this open banking will ultimately improve the financial services for the customers. The next. Next slide. So we have seen that open banking has a set of requirements. Okay. Now we know that we have the bank. There's a technological provider. That technological provider should cater certain requirements. That's not mentioned here. So key requirements of the open banking. That's the API specifications in there that will be provided by the regulator, and that API should be exposed in a secure manner, and the customer should get his consent for the third-party provider to do the payment on behalf of him, and the third-party providers has to be registered in the bank side, and the banking systems has to be integrated and expose their functionality as services to the outside. So the customer should get the experience as well, and must gather the analytics and the reportings and the fraud detection. These are very important here. So other than that, these APIs could have different versions, and there may be the notifications required. So these are the key requirements for it to become the to expose the open banking functions as the open bank. So move to the next. So now we have seen that to provide those functionalities, there are technologies needed. What are the technologies? API management platform. The functionalities of the banks are exposed as the APIs. That APIs has to be managed. So that is what we need, the API management platform. Really. So these APIs are exposed to the gateways. So that is the API gateway. And I mentioned that customer need to be logged in and provide this consent. And upon that consent, the third-party provider will take it over and consume and proceed the transactions. For that purpose, the ID and access management is needed. And specification will be provided by these regulators. And on top of that, there will be security implementations, and even the base architecture is very important here to cater the incoming load or request. So move to the next. So now here I have mentioned the technological providers. There are a set of technological providers. These are the open banking solution providers that bank can get the support to expose their banking backend functionalities or APIs as an open banking API. So Google has the FPG, IBM has the IBM App Connect, and Microsoft and Microsoft, all of them have solutions, and WSO also on the picture. So there are a series of solution providers. Next slide. Okay, so here we're going to discuss about the global regulations. Really. So as you have seen, if a bank want to expose their APIs, if a different set of banks want to expose their APIs from different technology providers, the output will be different. So to make it generic and come under certain specifications, there are global standard scale. So here mentioned the open innovative concepts appear in 2003. Where payment service directive came up in the Europe. It's in 2007 really, but the implementation came up in 2015. So that's the first one, the Europe, and thereafter we have the general data protection regulation as well to protect the customer's data. That's also the Europe. And the second one is the open banking in UK. UK came up with their open banking standards in 2018. So the Australia has the consumer data rights standards in 2019. So based on those standards, in their countries, they should expose their APIs upon those standards really. So these are the key. Further, there are another specifications came out in Singapore, Hong Kong, Brazil, and different countries. So we'll further discuss on these regulators as well, the key regulators. Left hand side is the Euro. That's the Payment Service Directive that's governed by the European Commission, really. So their implementation 2015 came up with PSD2, and they have general preferential regulations as well. So their implementation is the European Union governed where this next gen PSD2 by the body. So that is the first one. That's in the Euro. And the second is the Open Bank implementation in UK. So that is their competition and market authority is the one who administered this one. And that's also based on the PSD2. And other is the Australia, the consumer data rights, that they focus on mainly on the customer consent given for the third party provider. So now next we specifically find out, discuss one of the regulation, because now it's very important for you to understand what are the things that the regulators mentioned here to expose the banking APIs as an open banking APIs. So we'll take only one. That's the first one, the Berlin Group next gen PS2 specification. The consortium is the Berlin Group that govern on the European banks and the payment service providers. So in the European Union region, they have the regulations. So specifically, they don't mention what are the API request and response message should have. That means if you have considered the balance equality service, what is the balance equality service input should be there and response should be. That is not they consider. They consider only common standards really. They have the set of common standards, and they doesn't prescribe exactly that how the API should look like. So in the diagram, you can see important terms there. So these terms are the same that we discussed. Left hand side, the user is the payment service user. That's the banking customer. And right hand side, you can see the ASPSP means account service payment service provider. That is the bank. So bank expose their APIs on top of the Berlin Group API standard. So that APIs will be consumed by the third party fintechs, third party providers. They are the mentioned under three categories here: PISP, AISP, and PAASP. That means the payment initiation service provider. They may do the payments and maybe the account aggregate and show the information. Account initiation service provider. That is the second one. So other one is the given the confirmation of the out of the funds. So that kind of a three categories there. So now you may need to know what are the exact standards really. So that is what specifically we need to identify. So there are technical standards, security standards, and features, and certain others as well. I have mentioned the key things here. So they have mentioned if you are exposing your APIs, that should be the REST APIs. That format should be the JSON, and that should be an XML one. That should be under the ISO 222. That should be the TLS 1.2 or the HTTP version. Those kind of things are there mentioned. So they have mentioned the security standards as well. Okay, so very important thing now you need to know is what are the APIs that exposed by the bank. So that is very important. So in the Berlin Group next gen, they haven't mentioned these are the specific APIs, but they have put them mentioned what are the APIs to be. There are 7 categories that they have mentioned. One is the account information service. That is the third part is the one who is now going to consume this bank APIs. So account information service is the balance inquiry, transaction history, maybe customer information. Those are the account information service. When we get the account customer information, we need to do the payment. The third part do the payment on behalf of the customer. For that, there are payment initiation services. And next is the confirmation of funds. After when you are going to do the payment, we need to check whether the funds are available there. That's the third one. The fourth is the payment status API. After doing the payment, to check what's the payment status really. And other is the strong customer authentication API. That's we need to authenticate the customer. So the third party application, the customer will reach through the third party application, but bank will get the customer credentials and validate the customer. So we'll discuss how that happened in the next slides. So for that, there are these strong custom authentication APIs. That should be the strong authentication as well, maybe to authenticate with the not only the username and password, that may be the multi-factor authentication, maybe taking the OTP and any other materials. And next is the fraud detection API. So if there are transactions happen, there could have that fraud that should be analyzed and detected. And payment cancellation APIs mean if the payment is not confirmed, can cancel. So these are the categories really. Move to next. So under Berlin group, we saw that there are a set of specifications. The bank should follow that. So here I have mentioned the set of parties who involved here. These are banks and other parties who are involved here that expose support for the bank, maybe the banks here as well, to expose and cover under Berlin group. Okay, so same as the UK specification, there are other specifications as well in different countries. So UK has open banking, Europe has the PSD2, and so next we discuss Australia has the CDR, and further India has the unified payment interface. So so likewise, the different countries has their different standards came up. So in this picture, the blue color one are the mandatory compliant, that means the regulations came up with. There are certain countries that don't have the exact regulations. So they would have the market, that means they have the market requirement of opening their APIs because of the customer needs, but there are no party coming to the regulations. But that sort of a common regulations come up with the market need. So we'll group the countries and see what are the exact countries come up. So here you can see certain countries have the regulation. They have the regulation driven. Some countries, the regulations come up with the market. And certain countries still haven't considered on the open banking or specific regulation. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, there are technological providers who provide the technologies to expose these banking APIs as the open banking APIs. So one of them is the WSO. So that's what I'm going to focus today. And here, how WSO to do this thing. So they have their key technological products really. One is the API manager. In the left side top, you can see the API manager, and next is the identity server and the stream integrator. So I mentioned that you have to open the APIs, you have to control the APIs, maybe the version and everything are required. That can be done with the API manager. You have to control the request, everything can be done by that. So identity server is the one we use for the custom authentication, get the custom consent, and those things will be covered from that one. And you may need to do the notifications and events and maybe gather the information. So those things, analytics, for that the stream integrator is used. So these are the key three products left side, but these products can be used separately on the different needs. If a company needs to manage their customer identities, they can use the WSO ID server. But if you are coming up with the open banking solution, really there are further needs more than that. That is the kind of the third-party provider should be registered. We should let them register by themselves. That's the dynamic registration. So dynamic client registration we mentioned. So other is the consent management. The customer should give the consent for the third party to do a transaction on behalf of him. So these kind of features should be there. So open banking accessories in the middle are the one that provide these features. So there are certain, if we consider both of these, the basic product stack in the left hand side and the middle open bank accelerators, that's also won't be sufficient. If we consider a country, that they would have certain further needs, requirements to be catered. So maybe they need to gather certain specific customer information and do some kind of the reporting, so some kind of notification. So different authentication for the different authentications, adaptive authentication, maybe geolocation-based authentication. So for those kind of things, we need to get the support of the open banking toolkit. That is where the development goes happen based on their different needs of the different countries. we can use the toolkit. So this is the entire fact of the WSO2. So this WSO2 product, open bank product, in fact, this can be set up on-prem as well. It support for the hybrid as well, the cloud, and WSO2 has the managed service as well, and even the other cloud providers, and even in the distributed setup as well. So you may need to know now. Now we know that banks have want to expose their APIs. We discussed there are separate different technological providers support for the banks to expose their APIs. So we discussed about the WSO2. There are components that WSO2 has, how that plug and expose the APIs. So that's what mentioned here, right hand side, the core banking APIs there. That APIs are going to be exposed outside. In the left hand side, there should be the third-party providers who consume these APIs. The WSO2 API left hand top in the middle mentioned is the API manager who exposes these APIs to outside. Maybe the account transfer, balance inquiry, as the categories I mentioned. It depends on the countries and the standards. So with the core banking system, they may have their functionalities exposed in different aspects. Maybe they could have the different specifically methods, maybe that will be language dependent, maybe ISO messages and different protocols, maybe proprietary protocols, TCP protocols, but the standards comes different. They mentioned that should be RESTful one. So that should be JSON message or specifications is there. So for that, in the middle, you can see the WSO2 in my integrated involved that consume the core banking APIs and do this transformation, protocol transformations and message mapping, and they we can use that and export the service through the API manager. And stream integrator in the middle is mentioned for the analytics and gathering data for those purposes. So security is very important now. Now we know that APIs are going to be exposed, and the security is very important here. What are the security layers to be? These are the general things really. So mutual transport layer security, MTLS, that two parties communicate should mutually authenticate themselves. And electronic identity and authentication, EIDS, is another one. It's in the European standards they are used. And the O2 is the one that I'm going to discuss, the very important one. That's for the customer given his consent for third party, use the O2. And OpenID Connect is used on top of the O2, where the customer information will be provided to third party on top of the O2. That's used the ID token, that's called the JSON token, and that is another standard. That's for the financial grade API specification standards. So on top of these things, there are further the criteria that are taken. That maybe when the requests come in, we can restrict the number of requests that third party can retrace. Maybe the throttling can be taken there, and the role-based access control, the accessing user, the customer maybe, we can restrict their access. Maybe third-party provider, we can restrict and show specific APIs only. For corporate segment, we need to show the specific APIs only. We can do that. The role-based access control. Even there's a fine-grained access control, and there are message encryption. So these kind of things comes under API security. Okay. So I mentioned the customer give the consent to the bank. So that's a very important part that is governed by the O2 and OIDC. So I'm going to explain that one. So right hand top is the bank. So API consumer application is the third party provider who consume bank's APIs and provide the new application, maybe new applications. So customer is the one bank's customer. So in the middle, the API consumer application are registered with the bank. So banks are given the token and ID and a token. So ID and a key. So the customer comes and log into this application. Now we'll think this is the application. This application, the customer can log in and give his add his all the different bank accounts. Okay, add different bank accounts, and here it gives an aggregated view of the bank account information. So that is the feature provided by this consumer application. So the customer will log into this consumer application. It has a login page. He put his username, password, and log into the application. That's what mentioned in the number 1. And the consumer application mentioned request the bank to authorize the customer. That means to get his consent. So the bank directly requests from the customer to input his bank credentials. So first he enter the credentials, maybe for the API application, maybe his mobile number or email. But here in the number 3, the customer 3 and 4, customer input his bank credentials really. And from that, bank validate the customer and give a token to this API consumer. That's we call the auth code. With that auth code, the API consumer again request from the bank that please give a token. So bank again validate the API consumer as well and give the token to the consumer application. So a consumer application now has the right to access the customer information. So that token can be used by the consumer application to retrieve the bank information. So we'll have a practical example really that will give the exact information inputs for you to give a good view on that. So this is the developer portal. So that's the bank. Now I mentioned bank export via APIs outside. So this is the view for third-party company who wants to use bank APIs. So the WSO2 management portal is there, developer portal there. This is the view that third-party provider can see. They come and then click and register here themselves, and they can consume these APIs. So they can test these APIs and they can send a request as well, and they can consume these APIs and do their implementations. There are divisions there. That means there may be the sandbox, testing environments, and production environments. But this is the general view here. So we'll think that there's a third-party application who came and registered here with the bank, and they consume this application, and they have prepared an application. Now, bank customer is going to log into this application and use that. That's the account aggregation as we discussed here before. So left-hand side is the account application, account aggregation application, account information service provider, ASP solution. So what that means, it's going to gather the account information and show the customer. That customer can view the aggregated view. That means different bank account information can be viewed in the single place. Even 360 view we can see. So the inputs he put here in the left hand side may be the specific this third-party provider's application domain. So thereafter he can add this specific bank. Maybe he has a one of the bank and he click the bank click the plus sign and add the bank. Next, he'll be directed to the specific bank login page. So this page comes from the bank area. That is not inside the application provider. So bank provides this page. If it becomes a web application, that may be a separate tab here. We'll think like that. So on top of that, it's a separate tab. So the customer get the confident that now I am entering my credentials to the bank page. So if it's a mobile application, maybe that's a kind of a layer coming on top of the mobile application that you don't feel it's a web page, but on top of that you can input your bank credentials, but you feel confident that now this is the bank credentials login page. So after that, bank will get its second verification as well. That may be OTP. That's in the right hand side. So thereafter, customer give the consent as well. I'm just giving my first saving account only to get to you in this aggregate thing. So that's what is the left hand side. And after he gives consent, the bank going to be send a token to the third party provider, and he use that token and get the account information from the bank and show in its dashboard maybe. So that is mentioned in the right hand side. So this is a typical sample application that I have taken from the WSO2 site. So that depicts how this entire flow goes. Okay. So optimal architecture for open banking. Now we discussed that exposing the bank's APIs as the open APIs under specifications standards is the open banking, where the customer gives his consent as well. That is very important. So all the standards are concerned on the APIs. They concern on the APIs, how to expose the APIs, API standardization, everything. But banks need to think further beyond that. That's what I mentioned here. So there are new technological and strategies comes. So bank need to focus on that, because why? There are non-banking financial companies as well. Maybe telcos coming to picture as a non-banking financial. So they also come and involve in this sector. So bank has to compete with them as well. So for that, bank needs to strengthen their backend as well. So they need to follow the agile methodologies. They need to develop the customer requirements and faster, and they need to develop practices to come up with the speed up the process and automations. And they need to go for the cloud or cloud ready solutions. Maybe they need to support for the scale, and if there's a based on the load, they need to support for the high load. So these are very important. So in the left hand side, it's mentioned the API gateways. I mentioned earlier that APIs are exposed from the API manager. So that is we call the API gateway available in the API manager. That is where directly the request comes and handles. That's goes for the bank backend. So if a bank has a single API gateway, that's a centralized one. When the number of input requests increase, that won't be able to handle the load. Maybe we need to scale it, but it's difficult. So for that, the distributed gateway is very important that bank has to focus on. Then they can easily scale up these gateways. So these kind of aspects banks need to focus on, other than getting ready with these strategies, with the standardizations only. So further, so bank would have kind of a monolithic setup that may be the single setup, but focusing on exposing the APIs, I mentioned that there are a set of APIs will be exposed as the microservices. So that can be done, but important is that when the request comes, there may be a specific control that need on top of that. So what is that? Maybe if we need to throttle the incoming request, that means we need to request a number of requests. That means for the day, we are allowing the third-party provider to send only 1,000 requests. So that kind of a restriction if we have to put. So which kind of architecture would be the more suitable one? That's what I have discussed here. So the service mesh is what I mentioned is more suitable. So we consider each by each there that more than monolithic, the microservice is much better. It's very clear. But in the microservice architecture as well, they have to communicate each other, maybe for the throttling purpose as well. But if we consider service mesh architecture, that they would have this sidecars specific inside of this microservice, that they can be communicated as separate network that can be controlled separately. So that is more suitable in this kind of architecture area. So in the right hand side is a serverless architecture that further we have to discuss, but service mesh is much suitable there. So same thing I have drawn here as well, taken here as well. So the microservices will be there. They have sidecars that will be controlled by the control plane that will control these instances. The control plane also can be scaled. So further, there are API gateways that expose the APIs to outside that also can be scaled. So the service mesh will be the optimal architecture for this, and further the serverless will be the next phase. So other than the key discussions on the open banking, so I just want to mention, I mentioned that very recently Mitra became the WSO2 open banking solution partner. So there's a approach that we took. I just wanted to mention you as well. So there were 9 developers selected within 6 months of period, we came up with this partnership. So initially, really, there were 6 developers, 9 developers, and they followed this their part enablement course, and thereafter we took 3 developers, and there was a set of tool set up. As I mentioned in the earlier slides, I mentioned WSO as their core products, and they have their accelerators on top of that. But to reach the last mile compliance, there's a toolkit that to cater specific requirements of a given regulation. So for that, the toolkit setup is very important. That's the development part comes there. So there we did certain work given by the WSO2, and in 3 months' time we were able to hand over WSO2 and get the WSO solution partnership. So Mitra became the WSO solution partner. So this concludes my session. Thank you, and if you have any queries, you can raise.
It's probably not related to the open bank, but in that service architecture includes monolith to microservices to service mesh to serverless. Would you be able to explain the difference between service mesh and the serverless?
Yes, okay. So there that means we don't need to focus on that in the effort on the service really. That means we just want to focus on their specific implementation only. So that kind of managed services are there now provided by WSO2 as well. And otherwise we can use a certain other partner service as well.
You still will be talking to a direct API.
Yes, solution will be there.
The second question is in open banking. Let's say in Sri Lanka context, we deploy to WSO2 specific open banking solutions. Let's say one for commercial bank, one for TP. Would they still have same API definitions where the third party can directly plug and pay, or would they have different definitions?
Yeah. So the come up with the regulation is very important. In Sri Lankan context, there is no specifications come up yet, but we know that there's a with the central bank, there's a Lanka Clear as well involved there, but there were certain they tried to come up with a certain regulation previously, but still not really. But there were indirect ways of open banking kind of things that we can see, maybe other bank payments, maybe. So those kind of things are available here. So what you ask is the specification, maybe.
Yeah, not in Sri Lankan context.
Okay.
WSO2 open banking permitted context. Would it be bank specific?
Okay. So that's the region specific field. That means I mentioned Europe and UK and Australia. So for those 3 regions, those 3 specifications, WSO2 has a specific toolkit set up. But for the others, they have their toolkit that developers we can do the last mile compliance. That means upon the basic things are covered in the toolkit, the basic product and the accelerators. But the toolkit, we can come up with the extended solution that can't need. So WSO already has developed 3 toolkits, but if there's a need for other country, maybe some sort of country if you consider that they don't have the regulation, but they come up, maybe Sri Lanka. Now we have a set of different specifications to follow. For that, we can use that toolkit.
Yes, one last question. In that same context, maybe in a use case where somebody wants to get an aggregated view of their multiple accounts, right? Sure. So first you log into this third-party application, it will send a request to the authorization. They will get you to do your oath to authorization and set the tokens and all that. After that, just take that scenario alone. Whatever you pass in, imagine you have a third party guy building that application. Now you need to send the user through the consent flow. What you want to supply to that identity provider to get the tokens, get the consent registered, are they regularized? Is that a defined set of parameters, or is it customized based on the bank that you implement? To what extent it is regulated under the open banking
So that will be the regulator specifically. That regulator may concern that these consents are specifically required. Further, on top of the regulator, banks also will mention we have to collect further information of the customer consent really. Now you request that mean when the customer log into that after logging the third party application and he select a bank and maybe after selecting the bank, it routes to the bank's login page. So there he inputs his credentials. Thereafter it comes up to consent. So as a request asked there, that consent, what are the data to be gathered? Maybe the up to how long the consent to be taken, up to which limitation the consent to be taken. Those are specification based or maybe further on top of the specification that bank can decide.
I have a question. So now we have now it's obvious that this is the future of banking, right? But the reality is a lot of countries have not come up with the regulation, and some of them have not even thought of it. Just example, Sri Lanka or Cambodia. Or whatever. So now when we talk to banks, they understand what open banking is and the benefits, right? But they won't proactively do this. Now, how would you go pitch to a bank, let's say a bank in Cambodia, let's say ABA Bank, right? Now they know about open banking, they know about the trends. How would you pitch this to a bank in a country where there is no regulation or where there is no regulation in the immediate horizon?
So that will be the important, that is a good question really. The thing is that if we introduce this open banking concept, or maybe that open banking toolkit and everything for a bank, that they may see their ROI, return of investment. So that's very important for them. So they may not see their gain very recent time. The reason is that there should be third-party providers. They should come up with their new ideas, and then they should consume these APIs and should come up with a new applications. If there are people who are really expecting that kind of APIs in the country, there'll be a good approach. Really. So bank can specifically expose their APIs, and there are already parties who are requesting from the bank. So we have this kind of ideas. Do you have the APIs? If that's fine. So if that kind of a need can be there based on their technology input of the country and maybe the market needs. Sometimes some countries may not have that kind of picture in them. So the important thing is that, but what I think that bank already have that requirement within the organization. That what I see is that they are existing customers, they are corporate customers. So they have a lot of corporate customers who may be who may integrate with them. The bank should have provide their web applications, maybe the dashboard for the corporate segment. These are not the retail customers. So corporate segment, they have provide those kind of applications. So they may have more needs of them. Okay, so they
beyond open banking.
Beyond open banking, they have the requirement of the maybe they want need to view their 360 view of that account. Maybe they need to further how their spending patterns, and they need to get for the strategic decision making. For that, they need this analytical information. So we can pitch that as easily. So the existing need can be easily catered, but with the coming under the regulation, they don't have exact regulation, but until that come up with the regulation with the general guidelines, we can assist them to securely expose these APIs. So the third-party providers themselves can come up with their own development and own implementation. So that will be very helpful, and that kind of approach will be very good. And so
should we put the open banking label on that now? No, I understand what you're saying, right? But that's a part of open banking, right? Our bank who does not have this regulation, we are catering to the corporate clients' requirements, right? Should we say open banking, or should we just talk about corporate clients' requirement? You know, like you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know, like because I'm afraid that if we go with the whole open banking label, on top, then they'll get scared and be like, oh, this is, they're going to get regulated. But if we go in the other angle, saying that, okay, we are trying to address your corporate banking needs or corporate customers' needs, they will be more open to that. But what do you think about that?
So that's also could approach that mean when we are exposed to our APIs, we can mention that we can explicitly expose the API gateways that with the specific roles for this corporate segment only. That's also one of the approach. So they can only view the
compliant with open banking specs.
Yeah.
yes,
Make
but
sure that there are
Yeah.
enough compliance to whatever that we can comply, right? If the regulations are not there even, but with their basic compliance, we can ensure. So
Yes.
that assurance is something that we
Yeah.
can probably keep.
Maybe that's like a great way of stepping into this, because I feel like open banking is like a huge step for a bank, like a strategic decision that the management or someone has to make, right? Yeah, they'll get scared. Maybe we should change that approach to like, okay, they have an existing need for corporate clients. Maybe that's a way of easing into open banking. Maybe open banking might be step 2 or 3 in their journey. You know what I mean?
yes, the banks would have their maybe the banks, most of the banks may not have their own IT companies.
Hmm.
Maybe they would get the support from other IT companies to develop their applications really. So for that, they would have kind of the exposing their function, keeping the VPNs or any kind of a specific security things that they have set up. But with the open API, that will be very easy for them coming up with specific standards, and even they can get support for the any new vendors as well. That will, if another new vendor comes for the application development, they would have to concern specifically for that development, that vendor really. But if we set up this kind of open API concept, and then we expose if the bank expose the existing APIs to this existing technological provider, maybe a developer, that'll be a good platform for the bank.
Do we have any questions from the online audience? Someone, you wanna ask? Let's ask them.
Guys, do you have any questions? Those who are online. Any questions?
Any questions from the audience?
Okay, can you give it on?
Okay.
So thank you so much. Thanks for the participation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great session.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
So, bye.
Jamal, did you record this session?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
We are